Okay, now we'll go ahead and first things first, let's knock this pin out right here. It's just another roll pin. Here we are. See, just another roll pin. It's identical to the other one, so it won't hurt to mix them up. Let's see. Don't believe that lets anything off. Just to relieve some of the pressure for this next part, I actually go in and you can see the back of your sear right here that holds your hammer. I put my thumb on the hammer and press it down like that, and then pop that sear off that lip. And just slowly let your hammer go up. That'll take some pressure off this thing because there is quite a bit of spring pressure on that. And then with this pin, I like to go this direction, and I'll show you why. There's a ring or an indent on it that makes it tough to drive out the other way. There we go, losing our pin. Keep your punch in there because there is some spring pressure. And what I was talking about is sitting in this, you can see there's a little ring around that, a recess, and that is in like that, and it's being held by a spring. So driving it out this way is a lot easier than driving the whole thing out this way. Okay, now keeping your thumb on this because there is some spring pressure. Pull your punch out. This mess is all going to come out in probably a big mess, but we'll see if we do it better this time. Well, we didn't do too bad. There is your safety lever. Your trigger and trigger bar come out at that point. And the only thing really left in there is a mag release, and that's easy enough. It comes out a lot like a Glock does. If you're wondering, I'm not going to take it out. And then this spring. And at that point, you got the spring and the detent. At that point, we're done and we can go back together. Spring goes right in there. As far as this guy goes, this little spring can fall out, so you gotta be careful with that. This one doesn't seem to as easy. And there's not a whole lot. Like I was saying, there's not a whole lot to this thing that you really need to take apart past this, but something that will happen to you, or could. Let's see here. Is this fell out on me, and it took me a while to figure out where it came from and how it goes together. And all it does is the spring. This is your hammer catch or sear catch or whatever you'd call it. Your spring sits on it this way, and that tab rests right there. So something like that. If we can see that. Something like that. So you're going to hold those together, pull your hammer up. You can kind of see down in there where the neck of this bend is going to sit down on a tab in the bottom of this. Let's see here. But you're just gonna kind of fish that down, kind of looking here, see if you're lined up. Oh, that's why. That tooth has got to go in there. So, falls in like that. Kind of see how it sits down in there. We're actually not even close to centered, but it'll work for right now. Best way to center it is to push that hammer back, let it lock. And there goes that little spring I was telling you about. Like I said, that thing likes to fall out. We can tell when I push the hammer down, you can see that line up. That thing pivots too, yes. Alright, so put this back in the right way. I'm going to pull the hammer up. Let's see, we're going to put this on like that. Safety lever. And sitting up in the safety on position is a lot easier to put it in than have it down in the fire position. It just sits naturally, you know, easier there and lines up. Okay, I think that's got us for that. Gonna carefully slide this. This little, your hammer rod or the little pusher that pushes on the hammer sits on the hammer spring, that little cup down there. And it's gonna give you some spring tension. You can see that. Now with the hammer up, it's going to be a lot easier than with the hammer down. Let's see, the first thing we're going to do is put that roll pin back in. So I'm going to put that punch in. Kind of tough. You gotta have one more hand here. So you gotta kind of just shove that bitch down there. There we go. There we go. We got it started. Remember, keep your thumb over this or else you're gonna lose that in the spring. Finger, whatever. Misaligned somewhere. Maybe. Oh damn, I was hooked up on something there, I don't know what. Hold that level while you're pounding the pin in so you don't damage your gun. Okay. So that middle pin's in. Now we need to take that other pin that had that groove in it. It's not going to focus. See that pin groove? And it has to go this direction. Now also one thing you're going to have to do when you're sending that through, and I like to use a punch for this as well, is line up that spring and that hammer catch, which we just did. It should pop right on through. Alright, there we go. That goes in just nice. Safety works, we didn't break anything yet. Hammer should push back and catch. So it's on. Okay, so now we're going to need to